Going forward, we have learned from experience what policies work and what has not worked over the past 19 years. We've heard the comments of our people everywhere as we travel and meet communities directly. That is why we saw the need to produce a long-term national development plan to guide our work over a long period of time. The creation of the National Planning Commission are outcomes of ANC and alliance processes that began immediately after the ANC's 52nd conference, the Polokwane Conference. These processes were refined and developed in many workshops and meetings since 2008, and ultimately the 2009 ANC manifesto spells out the need for a planning entity within government. The main reason why the ANC endorsed the National Development Plan is that it is hugely consistent with the ANC's understanding of the National Democratic Revolution. It encourages a multi-class alliance to combat unemployment, poverty, and inequality in South Africa. The plan identifies 3 key priorities that must be addressed urgently and with much vigor. These are rising employment, improving the quality of education, and building a capable developmental state. We fully endorse these priorities, which have been included in our national conferences, for an example, 2007 and 2012. On employment in particular, the plan proposes numerous ways to get more people into work and ultimately get close to full employment by 2030. This means creating 11 million jobs and ensuring that total employment rises from 13 million to 24 million by 2030. Promoting youth employment in particular is a key focus area for us. Hence, the promotion of the Youth Employment Accord that was signed in April this year by government, business, labor, and the youth. The ANC will be discussing the implementation of the National Development Plan at its forthcoming Mahutla, also as part of preparatory work for the manifesto. We have noted debates on the plan, which would be welcomed as part of the South African culture of democracy and open debate. As you are aware, Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe is currently engaging the mining sector to ensure the return of labor peace and stability in this crucial economic sector. We are pleased with the progress registered thus far and expect a conclusion of the talks and an outcome soon. We look forward to the official visit by United States President Barack Obama to South Africa between the 28th and 30th June. He previously visited South Africa in 2006 as a Senate. The Minister of International Relations and Cooperation will brief the media later today at length on the visit. This is a significant visit as the United States is a major trade, investment, tourism and technology partner for South Africa. The United States is a significant investor in South Africa with about 600 US companies operating within the South African economy. South Africa strategic dialogue in which we engage on an ongoing basis on areas including health, education, agriculture, law enforcement, trade, investment, energy, nuclear security, and non-proliferation and regional security. The visit also coincides with the celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Organization of African Unity and presents an opportunity to showcase progress since the establishment of the African Union and to discuss cooperation on matters of socio-economic development as well as peace and security in the continent. Ladies and gentlemen, former President Mandela remains in a critical condition in hospital. The doctors are doing everything possible to ensure his well-being and comfort. We thank the media for support and keeping the public informed during this difficult time. I thank you.
Thank you, sir. We will take some questions now. I think I'm going to make a point of starting behind the cameras because there's a whole bunch of people there who can't be seen. So we're going to have to take them. So all of the camera operators are extremely limber from carrying their cameras around. So if I could just ask you guys to duck down for a second so that I can actually see behind you. I'll start with Andrew.
Yes. President Zuma, you saw Nelson Mandela yesterday. Perhaps you could give us a little bit more information about his condition.
Okay, that's one. I'm just going to see if I can take one more at the back. Anyone else at the back? Behind the cameras? David.
David Smith of The Guardian in the UK. I was just wondering from that, could you tell me a bit about Mr. Mandela? Was he conscious? Did he communicate with you? A second question. As we approach the 20th anniversary of democracy, could you just reflect on what have been the successes and also the failures in government? What are your biggest regrets?
Thanks. And one more.
With regards to the rand and the currency's decline, is the president concerned that it could do more damage than it does good in terms of a rise in inflation as opposed to increased export revenue?
Okay, thanks. Perhaps we should just stay up here and then you don't have to jump up and down like a jack in the box.
Maybe. No, thank you very much. I went to the hospital last night and I made a statement shortly after coming out of the hospital where I reported what I was told by the doctors, that Madiba's health had changed in the past 24 hours that was said to me last night, and he was now critical, and they were doing everything to ensure that they give him good treatment, make him feel comfortable, as they've been doing all the time. I was with the Deputy President, Cyril Ramaphosa. Given the hour that we got to the hospital, of course it was late. He was already asleep, and we were there, looked at him, saw him, and we then had a bit of a discussion with the doctors as well as his wife, Graça Machel, and we left. And I don't think I can be in a position to give further details. I'm not a doctor. As you know, I'm looking at all of you here. I can't tell what is wrong in you. I'm not a doctor. But I think that is what I informed the country and the world, and that remains the case up to now. I think that answers the two questions. As to what is it that we have succeeded on and what is it that we could regard as areas where we have not succeeded, I think I articulated what, in very brief, perhaps few things of what we have succeeded. You see, if you had taken government in 1994 from apartheid, which had destroyed the country, you will realize the challenge will be very huge. There will be things that in 20 years, the scars will still be showing. And certainly we are looking at what is it that we are doing to improve the state of the country. And we look at those. And generally, I know people don't necessarily compare where we come from and what we've done. So we look at that. If you took at the country, as it were, there are many issues that we are still dealing with as a result of that. So what we are looking at, what have we done going forward in terms of our policies, in terms of the implementation of our policies. I think what we can say, which we always talk about, that in terms of the implementation, we have not done what we would have wanted to do to implement all our correct policies for a variety of reasons. But we believe we have made very good progress. We have, for an example, said not once that we believe that in 19 years we have made progress that no African country that emerged from colonialism has made. We believe we have done a lot. Some of the things I counted here, I think there could be other small things that we could talk about. For an example, one of the issues that people have talked about was the matter of AIDS. Once we had a very comprehensive policy, but we're not able to make good progress, the progress that we have made now. So in a sense, that's what I can say in comparison to what we have achieved and what perhaps we have not achieved. There are many things we could count in terms of achievement. Very, very, very important things that have made people to forget where we come from in the short space of time. With regard to the rand is not an exception to currencies in the world. So the rand cannot be treated as an isolated currency because we have the global economic problems. And unfortunately, these problems have focused for a long time to regions that we do business with mostly. United States, the European Union. That has not helped the rand. So the rand has not been behaving on its own out of nothing. It has been because of the the economic pressure that has engulfed the world. From our point of view, we believe that it has been very resilient in the face of all of that since the first time it happened. For an example, whilst we said it was performing in the beginning of the first quarter at 0.9, but other countries are at 0.1, 0.2. So if you talk comparatively speaking, I think you could debate the rand from any angle. But of course we are not happy. We're not happy because the global economic recession in fact affects this unfortunate global economic meltdown. I believe would have even made progress much, much better than now economically. Thank you.
Thank you. The President has indicated that there's really not a lot more that he can say about Madiba's health, but Maharaj is here and he has agreed to stay on after the President goes if you've got further questions or need to speak to him. And I'll just reiterate that if you're at the back and you have a burning question, you're going to have to scrum through now. Okay, I'll start with Deborah.
President Zuma, Nelson Mandela is critical at a time when Obama is due to visit this country. Should he delay his visit?
With Cap.
Mr. President, I'm Omar Mutasa from the BBC Africa Service. Mr. President, you said you saw the former president yesterday. Is he on a life supporting machine or is he by himself?
Okay, go ahead, and then Alex, you can come in the next round.
Thanks, Mr. President. Anita Powell of VOA News. I just want to relate you the three questions that people on the street are asking me. They are about Madiba. They want to know, is he in any pain? They want to know how his wife is doing. And they also want to know if there's any venue, either a real venue or a virtual venue, where they can express their love and support, and what they should do to express their love and support.
Okay, thank you.
Questions are free. Well, thank you very much. While President Obama is visiting South Africa, I would imagine if there was such a visit and somebody fell sick, I don't think you stop a visit because somebody is sick. I don't think so. Particularly because if you take the case of Madiba, he has been not well for quite a while, whilst the visit arrangements have been going on. So there is nothing that is going to stop the visit because Madiba is sick. I think if we stop the visit, people will actually ask questions. Why is the visit stopped? So Obama is coming, whilst Madiba is at the hospital, not well. With regard to Madiba, I said I'm not a doctor. I think what I understand is that when a person is critical, the person is critical. I'm not a doctor to describe conditions. to say how critical. I think that's the business of the doctor. So I will stop there. With regard to where people should go to express their sympathy and prayers, I think they could go to a number of places. They could do it in their own places. They could go to the Madiba family, wherever they could. They could go to headquarters of the ANC. They could go anywhere. The sympathies will reach Madiba.
Okay, we're going to take one last round. I have Pete, Alex, and Mpumelelo.
President Zuma, what do you think of the launch of Ahang and Julius Malema's party? Does the ANC has reason to worry? Does the party feel threatened by the launch of these two parties?
Thank you very much. Alex, Eyewitness News. Mr. President, two questions. First one, were you concerned to see the reports about the breakdown of the ambulance that Mandela had on the way to hospital? And secondly, can we have a message from you to the nation across party lines, across all kinds of barriers in this time that people are obviously watching and desperate for news? Can you just give your message to the nation about Madiba?
Thanks. Can you hand it up to Mpumelelo?
So, President Mpumelelo Mkhabela, you said President Barack Obama's visit is significant for the country, and you did elaborate on a few things why you think so. But we have heard Kosatu recently saying they were going to do and protest against President Obama's visit here, and there was a mounting pressure by the ANC in the Western Cape to protest against what the city of Cape Town had planned to do, which was to give President Obama freedom of the city. And they are also pressures at the University of Johannesburg about whether or not he should be given an honorary PhD. What's your take? If you think President Obama's visit is significant, do you think, what's your take on these three incidents?
Okay. Jackson is just suggesting that I ask if there's one question from the very back. Should I? Okay, can we have one from the back, and then the President will answer, because we're going to have to do it in one round. I know you have to go. Sorry. Apparently there is a mic there, so whoever has it best. Maybe if you can just come so the President can see you, just fight your way to the front and stick your head over all these ranked camera people. Thanks, Angela.
President Zuma, it's Angela Kunzel from the Witness newspaper. Just wondered if you could, given that we are going to be celebrating our 20th anniversary, I wondered what you would say to those critics who look at our education system and what's been going on, and would say that they look for which to be quite pleased, because we are still relegating a whole bunch of school children to being viewers of wood and drawers of water. And are you confident that the minister who you have appointed is the right person to do the job? Thank you very much.
You will have to remind me now, because there were too many. Where I forget. Yes. I think the first one was about Ahang. Am I pronouncing it correctly? No, the ANC is not worried. We are a democratic country, wherein citizens have a right to express themselves as individuals through political parties, through the media, through everything. And they have a right also to establish political parties. And I think it is almost a common feature for now, because we are a young democracy in South Africa, that leading towards elections, parties mushroom like grass. There's nothing new. I don't think there's anything to worry about. People are doing what they do, exercising their right, and I don't think we should interfere with the people who do so. They are doing or exercising their right. We are not worried in the ANC. The second one was? Ambulance. Oh, I think it is there in my statement. I actually indicated that the doctors explained this, because after the news that was all over the world, one of the things that the doctors had to explain was that incident, that an ambulance had a breakdown along the highway, and one therefore would have been concerned, as people would have been, as what happened to Madiba. Now they explained they had about 7 doctors, among them specialists who were in the convoy, who were in the ambulance, and had made all the contingencies before leaving. And they therefore were in control of the situation at all material time at that time. And certainly, nobody can predict whether the car is going to break down or not. But what I was happy about is that they had made very good preparation, that on the event of anything, they were ready to deal with the situation. As a result, his health was not compromised.
Any message to South Africa and the people at this time?
Well, I think it is important for us to say Madiba is critical in the hospital, and this is the father of democracy. This is the man who fought and sacrificed his life to stay in prison, the longest serving prisoner in South Africa. He's one of those who has contributed to democracy ideologically. And therefore is the man we all love. And I think all of us in the country should accept the fact that Madiba is now old. He's 95 years. And that therefore, as he ages, his health will begin to trouble him. And I think what we need to do as a country is to pray for him. Is to pray for him to be well, is to ensure that the doctors do their work so that he could come out of the hospital. That's what we can do for Madiba as a country. If we did that, I think we'd be honoring Madiba and his life. That let him get well, we pray for him. Thank you. Once again, we are a democratic country, a constitutional democracy. And I think we should accept that, because at times we seem not to be accepting that reality. It is in democratic countries where there are protests. People protest about anything. They've got a right to have views about individuals, about countries, in a democracy. And therefore, if people have got views and they want to protest, it's an unfortunate one, but they've got the right to do so. And I'm sure even President Obama, coming from a democratic country, he knows it. That if people do so, they express their views. And people have different views about different things. And I don't think, from my point of view, we should exaggerate this and think that there is a disaster. Because how else people will express their democratic right on matters that they've got views about? I think that's what we should be saying, we who are the communicators. That these people are expressing their views, they've got their views, they must protest. The only thing that we should be saying, all this must be done within the framework of the Constitution and the law. And I think that's what we should be saying. We can't say, because President Obama is coming and people are saying we are going to protest, we must now introduce apartheid laws to ban, what were they called, people when the people come together. You remember, Meg, you were affected by it a lot. That you can't assemble, you can't be together, you can't protest. We can't do so. All what we need to say to people, whatever views, whatever activities we undertake, it must be within the law, it must be respectful. Thank you very much.
Education system aging.
Well, education and the minister. I think the minister is doing very well. he has a very clear understanding of the job she's doing. I always at times have a view that when we talk about some of these things, which include education, we almost speak as if we are running a normal country, that somebody has just come to destabilize education. Education up to 1994 was a mess in this country. Not just a mess, a huge population was not given proper education. For anyone to think that in educating a society within 19 years would have corrected everything, particularly if you take the fact that education was used as an instrument to subjugate the majority of the country, then indeed those would be funny views in my view. We have done everything to ensure that we correct this, because it is an essential thing to educate our people. It is an important thing. It is our priority number one, because there is no South Africa that could develop without education. Part of the problems we have today is precisely because of the manner in which education was utilized against the majority of this country. And we are doing our level best to quicken the process. That's why we undertook to divide a department into two: basic education and higher education. Because our view was that the manner in which education is structured and how it had been used as an instrument, you needed to do extraordinary things. You need a basic department, education department, so that we focus at the foundation of education levels. Because that was beginning to show very obviously when the young people finished their matrics that they had no foundation. And that's why too many drops out. That's why the matric results were a big problem. That's what we had given this minister the job to do. She has gone there, understood the problem, and she is painstakingly putting the solutions in place. And therefore, I'm very happy with her job, with her performance. And I think, as you saw last year, that the results are beginning to rise. They're not going to be fluctuating, because we now have the fundamentals in place. But once again, the task of education in this country is very huge. And insofar as the minister is concerned, from our point of view, she's doing very well. I know that people pick at times some issues in education, which are part of the legacy, and balloon them as if they are the issues and only issues in education. I think she is helping us to change the education structure in our country. She's doing very well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. All right, we've kept you on your feet for a long time, and we don't often get an opportunity to interact directly with you, sir, so we really do appreciate it. Thank you very much for making the time. We know that you have to get going. As I said before, for those of you who have further questions, Maharaj is still here. There are some senior officials of the ANC still here, so you can speak to Mac on the Madiba issue, and I'm sure you can grab hold of other people as they go. But we're going to wrap up now. I'll just hand over briefly to Jackson to say a last word before the President goes.
Thank you indeed to all the leaders in the industry who made time to come here, editors, political journalists, analysts. I've seen a number of them here. Really appreciate that you made the time. This will be repeated every month, as we have said. We will have a number of ANC leaders who will be coming and engaging with you, so that whatever it is that you put to paper, at least you know the view of the ANC. At least. You might disagree with it, but you know the view of the ANC. So that's what we're going to do from time to time. And again, thank you very much for making this one. The President has got to rush to the meeting of the officials, you know, it's held every Monday religiously from 10 o'clock. So we had requested from the Secretary that we would like to have the President for some time so that he could join the meeting late. He'll be joining the meeting late because the meeting started at 10. But again, President, thank you very much for taking all the questions and responding to them, and also for making the time to interact with all of us in the media space. Thank you again to Babu Fagude, the chair of our foreign media, and also Babu Nick Dawes, the chair of our editors here. We really appreciate that through our coordination and cooperation with them, we have been able to make this successful media briefing. It's not the first, it's not the last. We are going to continue. And thank you very much, Nick. The floor is yours now. The President will be leaving, of course.
Yep. So if we could just sit tight for a minute while the President and his team leave. And then if I could just also ask that local title editors and their broadcast equivalents could please not flee, just stick around for a minute so we can have a chat about some other things. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm happy. Well, seemingly there are no questions for Mac. Thank you very much. Okay, Comrade Mac, you are now on the hot seat.
Can I have a chair?
You can have a chair.
Thank you.
Yes. Let's take your questions. Where's the roving mic? Yes. Okay. Okay. Are you settled? When you are settled, we have 1, 2. You just say who you are. You see, Nick knows all of you by name and profession and rank, just for our information. Thank you. Let's get started.
Can we go? Thank you. Mac, Alex, Eyewitness News. Can I ask, I suppose it's a bit of a touchy one, but is there a reason why we haven't had a briefing with the doctors, perhaps? The President keeps saying, I'm not a doctor, I can't explain it. Why don't we hear from the doctors? Why don't we get a panel up here and let them explain a couple of things? Thank you.
What will that achieve?
I think it will put a lot of people's anxiety at ease. Perhaps they'll get a better understanding of the condition. All we hear is stable or critical, but it leaves a lot of anxiety, it leaves a lot of questions. Why not give that an opportunity?
Okay. The reason is straightforward. We've come to the arrangement out of experience that we need a single source which provides information on the health of the President in an authoritative way. That arrangement has been arrived at in consultation with the family as well. And we've come to that arrangement on the basis that we need to respect the privacy of the family, we need to adhere to doctor-patient confidentiality, and we need to also do these things and report and handle the flow of public opinion information on the basis of respecting the dignity of Madiba. So, that was the channel that's set up, and we have said from the beginning, when I took over this job, that our reports are based on what the doctors say, and they are actually approved. The text is approved in consultation with the doctors. The doctors have indicated very, very firmly that some of the reporting is transgressing on medical ethics, not just in relation to doctor-patient confidentiality, but in relation to the way in which doctors are being interviewed for their opinion. It is the ABC of medical studies that a doctor is taught never to comment on a patient's condition unless the doctor himself or herself is attending or has examined the patient. That's another area that is opened up. We're trying to manage it. We don't have clear answers, and we are doing so in the best possible way. So you can be assured that what we are saying is based on agreement with the doctors. They tell us. For example, I've heard the question today asked, is he on this treatment or that treatment? And the doctors have said to me, Mac, you start answering that question and you are down the road in violation of doctor-patient confidentiality. So please don't do that, they've said. And you would expect that when a doctor or a panel of doctors appears here, they would have to put the full medical record of the patient on the table. And I think that would be a thing that they would not prepare to do. Thank you.
Next, yep.
Chris Lane from Bloomberg News. I just want to get a sensible guy with as much respect as possible.
If you can just kiss the mic.
Chris Lane from Bloomberg. Just with the greatest respect possible, have you been starting to make contingency plans for perhaps a funeral arrangements, discussing with your counterparts in other countries about how you're going to handle such a large media event with the world's eyes looking on Mandela?
All briefings on the logistics and arrangements for that eventuality, briefings will come from GCIS.
And they have come from GCIS.
Well, they haven't come to me, so I'm ignorant.
Yes, madam.
Matt Cashman from the Daily Telegraph. Can you tell me, you obviously, there's a dual role for you here. You are the president's spokesman, but you also are a long-time ally and friend of former President Nelson Mandela. How has it been for you? It's obviously been a very emotional situation for yourself. Do you take control?
Who am I to say when I've given a job that I regret or approve? When the president asks you to do a task, you do it. It's a great honor to do the job. But I think the more important thing is that, yes, I have to take a conscious decision in this job to put aside my feelings, not to allow that to come into the public space. I'm here to communicate information from the president to the public through the media, and that's what I must focus on. As regards my own personal position, let me say this, and I've said this before many times. I've said this since 1994. It has been a great privilege to be still alive and to see democracy. I think that's a privilege that Madiba too and his generation would share. It's been a privilege to be tutored and mentored by the Madibas, the Oliver Tambos, and the Sisulus. And so, I think South Africa should be celebrating Madiba's life, even when he's alive, so that the way we celebrate it will carry forward into the future for a long, long time. And if we do that, I'm quite happy. And I keep pinching myself and say, you lucky sod, you're still alive.
Oh, okay. Who? Want to make a follow-up? Is it a follow-up?
It's a follow-up to what
okay.
I just said now. Can you hear me? I just wanted to know, in your opinion, what was the greatest difference that Nelson Mandela made to South Africa? What was his unique achievement in your view, having watched him over the years, having been in prison with him? What made this man such a great man in your eyes?
We'll talk about that another time. Let's keep on his health at the moment.
Yep. Next.
It was actually Stakmovich, exactly, of German television. It was also connected with that, your personal relationship. You've been a long-term companion and friend and comrade to Madiba. What is he for you personally leaving behind? What's his legacy that is also being carried out to the world?
I'd like to talk about that later. He's with us. Let's keep sticking to his health and his present.
Yes.
David Smith of The Guardian. Sorry.
Yeah, speak, David.
David Smith of The Guardian. Could you just give us an insight into what it's been like working with members of the Mandela family. There's some reports that there are divisions within that family, maybe disagreements between the family and yourself. Are those accurate, or is everyone completely united?
I have made the appeal that from the beginning we've said let's respect the privacy of the family and let's go through this period ensuring that there's dignity. I don't think it is necessary to begin in any family to start looking at the disagreements that exist among them. I don't think that helps the process. It does not help the public to understand the plight of Madiba. It does not help them to enrich their views about Madiba. All it does is to introduce an element of unseemly disputes. That's my appeal, and that's why we are standing by and saying that if you say, what can we do about Madiba? I have heard you ask the question of the President. I would add to his list that let us do everything to protect the privacy of the family. They are going through a difficult time. They are a big family, and they will all have different opinions. But all of them deserve the need to be sheltered and protected by us in this period.
Yes, Madam.
Mac, Alex Crawford from Sky News. Just listening to the coverage over the past few days, particularly since the news about the breakdown of the ambulance was put on the news, there seems to be a growing sense amongst the South African public that perhaps they're not getting the entirely accurate picture of former President's health, and that there's continuing worry from the public. I mean, even this morning, that perhaps the presidency, the government is shielding them from the very worst news, that you're not happy about giving the bad news because of the reaction in the country. I wondered what you'd say to reassure them and us that we are getting the entire full picture. And also I wondered whether you'd like to take the opportunity to explain why no one knew about the breakdown of the ambulance at the time.
I think it's a circumstance. Persist, it's their right to go into medical details, which I think the doctors, as we said yesterday, the President insisted on informing him. President, we want to assure you that when the former President was transported on the 8th of June, there was no cardiac arrest. And they say that the reports that carried that are not true at all. And it's unfortunate that that is part of the reportage. But the reportage this weekend had another element to it. It consciously claimed that reports from the presidency were not to be trusted. I won't go to the rest of its claims. So it was actually cultivating that kind of public mind, using its information, knowing that its information is walking that thin line of doctor-patient confidentiality, knowing also that the breakdown that occurred with the ambulance led to no adverse consequences. If those reports had any insight from the doctors in the team, they would know exactly what this team of specialists have been saying to the President. That President Mandela's health was not compromised. Now, it is in that context that the issue of whether we should have reported the breakdown arises. And I think it's anybody's call on that matter. You can argue that it should have been mentioned right from the beginning, and you can argue that, look, the Defense Force said, look, everything was in order, no problems are raised, and the real germane issue is, what is President Mandela's health being taken care of? Did such an incident compromise his health? And so that's where we are. But the moment this information came through and questions were put to us, and I want to put it on record, that when the questions were put to me, I reacted by saying, why do you want this information 2 weeks later? I then requested that the questions be sent to me in writing. They were sent to me in writing in the late afternoon of that day. And that meant I had to do all the investigation to check the facts. By 10 o'clock that night, with due regard to that agency's reportage time, the responses were supplied in writing. And I want to also put in record that that agency in reporting did not carry my full response.
But sir, you can understand why the public might think you're not being entitled.
Exactly.
If you didn't inform the country about the ambulance breaking down in the first place. You can see why it could be led to that you're not being entirely frank with everyone.
Would you like to know that when the ambulance arrived at home, there was a 15-minute delay in its arrival? That could have compromised. Would you like to know full routine of movement? You have a case to put. But I'm saying we are guided by this prime consideration. And this incident has been used to stimulate a view, don't trust the report from the presidency. So I'm saying we all have a shared responsibility to manage this moment. And we have to do so with due regard to the key parameters that we've put forward. They're not our invention. They come from the doctors, namely the doctor-patient confidentiality. Ours is the privacy of the patient and the family. Ours is the upholding of the dignity of the person.
You know, we will not be taking too many hands because we have dealt with the issue. Take 1, 2, 3, 4, we should be done. You can't come back again. Then we should be done.
It's been asked a number of times why former President was taken to
Let's
Victoria
take one of
when
them.
many was in Johannesburg. It's also been suggested, obviously it's another sensitive one, but it's been suggested that were he not who he is, his life would not have been prolonged as long as it has been, but there may have been interventions that perhaps weren't appropriate for a man of his age and the level of sickness.
I think people who are raising the question are playing God. People who took the decision which hospital, when, and what treatment former President Mandela undergoes are the doctors. They do not consult anybody else. Yeah, so they take the decision. They take the decision even which hospital he goes to. They know the facilities that exist around the country. They know the circumstances. They plan for what they do. And it's not for us to second guess them, nor for us to keep changing the doctors. The former President Mandela has full confidence in the doctors. Government has full confidence. The family has full confidence in the doctors. So that's where it stands.
Questions from Lawrence, Sun Independent. Mr. Maharaj, I do understand your concern, but will you also acknowledge and understand the fact that Mr. Mandela is not an ordinary patient in this regard? And secondly, now that his condition has deteriorated and the presidency said last night that it's critical, how frequent will the president now visit him?
We have always acknowledged that Madiba is somebody extra special. He's not just a hero and an icon in South Africa and in Africa, but around the world. From the time we released this latest report last night at 9:30, I haven't had one wink of sleep because I've been answering calls from California to Tokyo, throughout the continent of Africa, from Holland, UK, Germany, Austria. So we understand how special he is. But I would say that the doctors too have a right and a duty to respect doctor-patient confidentiality. You have to really give me a reason why we should violate or transgress a rule that exists around the world. So, we do that with that consciousness. And if you want me to acknowledge the special status of Madiba, yes. But if you want me to acknowledge that there is need in this case to overlook doctor-patient confidentiality, I'm afraid you're asking me to breach a rule that exists throughout the world.
Madam.
Or the frequency of the briefings, this again is guided by the doctors. I have seen reports saying, why does Mac keep saying his condition remains serious but normal, steady, stable? So what is he telling us? The same thing. Now, we wait for the doctors. We know that if there is any substantive change, they know that they have to inform the president immediately. That's their duty. So we wait for their guidance. Yes, we do have tussles amongst ourselves to say we need another update. And then we have to go to the doctors. Doctors, are you ready? That's where the problem comes. So we are mindful of it. We'd like to do it. Since last night, I've had agencies call me, some of them every 3 hours, wanting an update. I understand what they want. I understand why they feel that way. You have a job to do to satisfy your work purposes and needs and your public, but we too have to respect the doctors. And we have to find a middle way, colleagues. Nobody can give me a straightforward, infallible solution to this issue.
Madam.
Valerie Harsh from Tea Time. Just the fact that apparently can confirm that the ambulance, after the breakdown, following ambulance took 40 minutes to arrive.
No, that's, again, without going into details, I can tell you the statement that it took 40 minutes to arrive is false.
So how long did it take?
No. As I said, without going into the details, just as we've said with regards to the cardiac arrest, it did not happen. It did not take the next ambulance 40 minutes to arrive. I'm giving you a categoric statement.
This doesn't breach the confidentiality of the...
No, that now goes, I'm now moving into a different set of rules and issues, not to do with the doctor. And I'm saying, once again, there I'm guided by the Defense Force traffic people. What I'm saying to you is that the 40 minutes has been presented as the delay between the ambulance breaking down and the replacement coming, and I'm saying not correct. Full stop. And I'm putting my head on the block. Not correct. Those who say it took 40 minutes to arrive, who bring that information forward, have a duty to tell the public how they arrive at that. Otherwise, I'll be answering rumors throughout my life.
Mr. Maharaj, Susan from AFP.
Oh, you woke me up at about 11 o'clock, okay. Or was it 12 o'clock?
Before she finishes, ladies and gentlemen, we have indeed taken as much questions as we can. She is the last one.
Thank you.
My apologies. Sorry. You did have a question.
Sorry for waking you up.
Last night, or is it this morning, you were quoted by one of the international media saying we should be sober about the condition of President Mandela and not hold out false hope. Is that something you would like to repeat to all of us?
I think President Zuma today said to us, it's critical, we can't debate how, but the fact that we are saying that the doctors say he is deteriorated from serious condition to critical should be sobering to all of us, should raise concerns amongst all of us. But we are all saying that the doctors are working might and main to improve his condition, and we are hoping his condition will improve. Thank you.
That then ends our special broadcast. Thank you very much, Mac. Colleagues, you will know why we also made this special arrangement is precisely because we understand that you like as much information as you can get around Madiba. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nick Dawes. Thank you,